did, you should be very familiar with this. I know Mr. Engel's very familiar with the 5-year plan, which is the capital. Where are we going? What do we need? What do we foresee? And it's a living, breathing document, meaning that every year it can change. It can change mid-year, but gives us an idea of what kind of money do we need to be able to perform ongoing services, both safety and services for the residents. What I've asked is each department head to put together their little presentation, for lack of a better term, okay? Their dialogue. Some people create the presentations, I think we have. There will be, you know, and talk about what it is that they foresee. One caveat, we have no money to do any of these other than what's already been approved. So we're talking about future plans, so where do we find income for that? You know, what are we going to have to do for the future? Because it's a living, breathing document, I would ask that tonight we allow the department heads or their representatives to do their dialogue. And then we save questions until they're done, and we're only going to have a short question period for each one, because as you think about it, you may think of questions later, but I'd ask to put the questions in an email format, get it over to me. Rhonda will then compile them all with all of the department heads' answers, we'll put them back out. Also, because it's a living, breathing document, I can see that we'll be doing this again probably before the fall. Just review it. To see if anything's changed and where we go from here. So I'm going to let Rhonda take, and the other caveat, I did not include the Parks and Recreation. They have a discussion underway of whether they're going to renew their levy or not. I felt then that the Parks and Rec is a whole separate meeting. I'd asked Councilor Bilkey that you arrange that when you're ready to have that dialogue. If you're going to go forward with the levy, what is it that they plan on doing with that money? And then, so that's why you do not see Park and Rec on here. It's, you know.
We have stuff in the listing,
There
not
is,
on
we'll
the
skip
agenda.
that.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not to belittle them or anything, but that really needs a whole separate dialogue since they may be going the wrong way. Okay. So we will start out.
I do have a couple of questions, just structurally. Are we going to receive something from the departments with more detail? This is a list. So I'd like to know, priority order and, basically what I want to know is how they see it benefiting the residents in terms of priority order.
Yep, I would ask that the department heads are obviously going to be speaking from some papers internally that they have, that we will take all of that and put it together and create the draft plan like we used to have in the past.
Okay, but
because we haven't had one.
Well, we
the
have
3 years that I was gone, and we didn't. The one you had, you didn't do with any department heads, so.
I actually did, but let's not go there.
Yeah. So we haven't had one in 5 years. So what will happen is let's let the department heads give their discussion. They will then put together one little format page. We'll get it to Rhonda. We'll put it all in one package and get it back out.
It would be helpful to know that because the sense of priority here, there's a list, but if we are going to make decisions, and clearly there's a lot of money if you look at the totals that are unlikely to be available in 2017. So just as a way of trying to determine, let's hear what the department heads think ought to be the priority order so we can get going.
And that's what I just said. You will be getting that.
Okay, fine.
We're giving them
roll.
the opportunity to speak to it. And then we will put that delegate. Remember, we have $0 other than what's already approved. So this starts the dialogue again of what do we need for the future? What do we see for the future? So, without belaboring that, we have a fine representative of the. Do you have anything you want to kick us off with first, Rhonda? Otherwise, we have a fine representative from our police department.
All right. My thought was to just go item by item here, as she has listed. The cruisers we have, we leased them on a 4-year municipal lease, and that's up at the end of 2016. So the first item is $76,250. That's to lease an additional 6 Dodge Chargers and 4 Ford SUVs. That would include changeover. It's broken down over 4 years, $76,250 each year.
So those are, you want additional 6 automobiles?
No, that's actually 10, 6 Dodge and 4
Okay,
Ford.
you want an additional 10 over
Not-
what you already have?
Right,
we're gonna
can
get
we
rid of the
hold
ones
the
we already
questions though
have.
till the end, or we're never gonna get through this? And then we'll make sure we get everybody's. He said 6 cruisers and 4 SUVs.
Right, so that would be 8 cars. We would keep 2 of the best, lowest mileage cars to replace the Detective Bureau cars, which are about 8 years old now. That would give 8 cars to either trade in or disperse throughout the city, however they choose to do it. The next item is weapons. It's 1 AR-15 rifle, which we have AR-15 rifles in all our cruisers except 1. So that would finally outfit all the cars. 2 AR rifle simunitions weapons and 2 simunitions pistols. That's for training. It fires a simulated bullet. We train with those quite often. Unfortunately, not as often as we'd like to because we have to borrow them from Stowe Police Department, and it's gotten to the point where so many people are borrowing them from Stowe, they're kind of like happy to give them to us most of the time, but it's like, hey, we bought ours. Go buy your stuff borrowing ours. So, the other item, the police department canopy, that's an item the mayor had discussed with the chief, talking about enclosing the back of the building, putting all the cars and something going to the Sally Port, keeping everything out of the weather. The locker room, lunchroom upgrades, that is the, I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with the locker room on our side of the building, but the lunchroom, all that, there's mold issues, there's, the building's 20 years old and it's not really been touched down there. I don't even think it's been painted. The floor is coming up. It's a problem. Office upgrades, same thing in the patrol room. The patrol room had carpet replaced 1 time in 20 years, but that's where we meet the public. And I mean, the furniture, the carpet, the walls, it was a poor design to begin with. We've come up with some ideas. That was originally designed when this building was built as the mayor's court. And we took it over the day we moved in because they realized that our patrol room, which is half the size of this room, is way too small for 23 officers. So the mayor's court, which we took over and made our patrol room, at least needs some minimum upgrades, carpet, maybe we'd like to put a secure wall in there. So when the public does come in, we don't have to push them out in the lobby every time we have to leave the room. So the dispatch upgrades, the bathrooms and the floor in there, they were looking to make some changes. You know, those dispatchers are in there 8 hours and they can't leave. There is a bathroom in there. They'd like to expand it, maybe put something in there for them to heat up a meal other than a microwave. And then the police server, it was replaced in 2011, and our vendor, TAC Computer, recommended we replace it within 5 years. Next year will be 6. The police department computer workstations, again, are all 2011 units, so we have gotten 6 years out of those. And then for 2018, again, we have the cruiser lease payment. 11 MDTs, they're mobile data terminals, they're the computers in the cars, along with the mounts to replace those.
How old are those?
Those are 2013, so they'll be 5 years old. And honestly, we may be able to have money in our operating to replace one before then, because they take quite a beating in the cars, and they usually don't last us 5 years, but we're trying to stretch it out and see how far it'll go. So that number may drop down to 10 if we have to replace one because one stops working. Also that year, we replaced the K9 car, which is a 2013. And then there was talk, and I'll yield to the fire department. Captain Ripley has done a lot of the work on the pricing for 800 radios. You know, we were forced to narrow band our 400, and eventually we're going to be forced off 400. I mean, they're just not going to allow us to continue to operate there. So for citywide, fire, police, all that, we're looking at probably around 400,000, and it's kind of broken down here over some years, depending on when we kind of get forced or we decide to go. Keeping in mind with that, our current structure that we have, we would have to keep in place as well unless the departments that we contract for dispatch services would choose to go to 800 at the same time as that would be Northwood Village and Sagamore Hills. So then 2019, again, the cruiser cost. Our L3 is our in-car camera system. There's a server that automatically downloads the cameras to the car when they pull up to the station. That server was replaced in 2013, so it'd be 6 years old, along with all the L3 in-car recorders. And then the next item is a next generation 911, and there's some options there, and we still have to look into it. This would be a lease. It would be $2,400 a month to lease from AT&T, who's setting up a 911 center in Portage County. We would never own the equipment, and that would be an indefinite amount we pay monthly. I got quotes from a couple different companies to buy our own equipment, and honestly, over a 10-year period, if we bought our own equipment over a 10-year period, it would cost us with their guess of when we have to replace hardware and maintenance agreements, it would cost us $304,000 over a 10-year period. To lease through AT&T, as of right now, it would cost us $288,000. So the leasing option would save us $16,000 over 10 years. Again, hopefully by 2019, eventually we're going to be forced to go to next generation 911, which enables us to get text messages, video, all those kind of things. They've kind of pushed it back because the county and a lot of state agencies don't have that capability yet, but eventually it's going to come. Hopefully by 2019, when we revisit that, there'll be other options besides Intrado and AT&T that can bring viable solutions. So, and then in 2000,
Is there a county plan for this at all?
there is no county plan.
Okay.
In 2020,
That 200,000 is my mistake, because I wasn't sure if the 400,000 for the 800 radios was per department or total, and I
It's
found out it's total.
total, yeah.
So that 200,000 comes off.
right. So for 2020, we have the car payment again, and then we talked about when we get the 800s. In 2021, the 4-year municipal lease would be up. We would be again purchasing 10 new vehicles. The pricing there is the same. It's 2016 pricing, so that's subject to change. The only other thing is that at the bottom, you will see vehicle model change equipment. Those cages and consoles and everything we mount in those cars will be 8 years old at that time. They still will be able to function. Unfortunately, the manufacturers on occasion, about every 8 years, change the interior, change the model of the vehicle. Then the cages and the consoles, none of that would function, would fit. We'd have to buy new. That's all I got.
Thank you. Short, sweet, and obviously 2017 is the biggest. Mr. Molnar, do you have any questions? Mr. Bilkey?
I'm listening tonight. In 2020, can you explain that again with that 200,000 coming off? It was total 200,000?
It was between police and fire.
And so it's 400,000 total, and you
Total.
assessed it 200
Right.
for the fire. Okay.
And then we're going to finance it over a 2-year
Over a
period.
2-year period, okay. So you just take it out. And to compound off of Sylvia's question,
Yes.
do you anticipate the county to go to the 911? And that's just for the cell phone, right? That's not for your landlines. Is that correct?
It
How
would
is
cover
it?
everything. Now, here's the interesting thing. Twinsburg put in the next-gen Viper system that we're looking to go with, that we would be able, and essentially if one place in the county put it in, we would all be able to piggyback off them. Okay? Well, I got a quote today from Intrado. It's $95,000 to buy our own standalone system, or $95,000 to buy the equipment that will allow us to hook into Twinsburg's. On top of that, what we would pay Twinsburg to use their
Right.
service, on top of that, you need fiber optic, AJ was in the meeting with me, fiber optic or 2 T1 lines, didn't he say 2? Redundant T1 lines, to hook us to them, which would cost us $600 a month anyway.
So it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. And so, we're hoping options come around.
That's just probably more of a question for the fire department, but you foresee that the other areas, regionalization, that would be some of the costs that would be, that the rest of the area would maintain if we had ours, that they could piggyback off us. So we could not make money on it, but is that the
The
idea? of it?
manufacturers, Intrado's making it not conducive for us to host or for Twinsburg to host. Twinsburg just spent a lot of money redoing their dispatch center, and it's not conducive.
They don't want people to do it. They want people to
They
buy
want to
their
sell
own
their product, exactly. So,
Yep.
Okay.
how's everybody?
Anything else, Mr. Bilkey?
That was it. Thank you.
Ms. Hannigan?
Okay, couple of questions. In terms of these various upgrades that you want, the physical areas, in the police department, do you have any sense of the urgency of any of those relative to the other ones?
You mean the other one's meaning the equipment that we're asking for?
Well, just in order of priority, the bathroom versus secure room.
I think
versus-
Well, I would
these
tell
usually
you,
are decent
the
priority
basement would
order.
be number one priority. Rhonda and the mayor helped a lot with this, but to me, the lunchroom, locker room upgrades would be priority to get rid of the mold that's in the building.
Okay, so you're having a physical problem with mold at this point, okay? That
Yes.
has to be fixed, I would think, because could be a problem.
So how about this, can you take what you have here and send it back with any priority?
That's what I was
order?
just gonna suggest.
Okay.
I would like to discuss this
That-
with the chief, who's on vacation this week. I can have this back to you guys with priority, and
Send it to me, and then I'll list it by person.
that'd be perfect.
We're gonna do
That's
the
fine.
leash department, did I
Yes.
understand that correctly?
Yeah.
The priority?
Yep.
Okay, thank
Why
you.
not?
For each of the given years, correct?
Well, priorities in terms of requests
Well,
over
I
5
think,
years.
yeah, for each of the years,
Yeah.
because there are some years that
Because
have
we got,
multiple.
this is
Right.
2017 that
Right.
is
Right,
projected
moving
here.
it forward, yeah.
Moving it forward, so we know that we don't have the funds, obviously, to satisfy all of these needs, but
Right.
we put them all together because I believe that this is, just goes to show you what the city needs. I mean,
Right.
Well,
it's overwhelming.
let me ask you a question regarding just the overall issue with these 800 radios and the 911, next-gen 911. Would it, in your view, be important to try to get some kind of an overall plan from the county, or do you think they're not involved here?
The county is really not involved because Intrado, which is one of the vendors,
Yeah.
has tried, and I even suggested to the vendor himself, supply one free to the county and lease it out to everybody else. There's a lot of squabbling back and forth between AT&T and Intrado because they're a couple, if you will. A lot of the things, like AT&T sold Twinsburg their $100,000 Intrado system, but AT&T manages it. They sell an Intrado product, they also sell other products. AT&T is putting on the one in Portage County, which technically could house all of Summit County, but they left Intrado out of the ballgame. So there's kind of like, again, I don't have all the answers. I'm waiting for a formal quote from them because it's constantly changing. And I can forward the email to Rhonda, kind of explains what the guy sent me yesterday, because there's so many different options and it's up in the air, but nobody's really stepping forward because they've all looked at this and said, if I spend the money to buy this thing where I could host for everybody else, nobody's gonna come to me because the company has literally made it cheaper for them to buy their own unit. Plus lease and communication back and forth, $600 a month on top of spending the same amount of money it would be for me to, buy our own.
Okay, so you'll do these in priority.
And we will
Okay.
get some kind of a sense of
Yeah,
that.
okay, I sound like a lawyer. No questions at this point, thank you.
You may
Very
step
good.
down.
I'm out.
Thanks,
You
Vince.
can be the judge or the bailiff.
There you
Which would
go.
you like to be?
Judge.
Judge or the bailiff? You're
Yes, you're next.
You're being called, do you swear to tell the truth? the
Oh,
whole truth,
yes.
and nothing but
Always. So help you God? Yep.
the- Yep.
You're
Oh,
used to
and
saying
Mayor,
that,
you
aren't
missed
you?
the caveat up front was there is no money to spend. This is all wish list.
This isn't a wish.
Other than what-
It's not a wish list. It's a,
Well, it's a need list.
it's a need list of operating
Right.
our city.
But we
And,
have, we're not having any legislation pop up next week asking for any of these.
No,
Okay.
no, these are things, though,
That
when
would be
you
an
put
excellent
together a
question.
five-year, not an excellent question, because it's not coming up. This is a 5-year plan projection
Right.
of what we do need. And I think this is the best we can do to illustrate to the residents of our community what our needs are. in addition to the roads, and this doesn't even touch the roads.
No, we saved
And
them
we
for
did
last.
put-
Oh, did you get them in there?
I got
We
some.
saved them for last.
Okay, because I mean,
Okay,
that was
Chief,
not
you're
in
on.
the documents I
Right.
was looking at earlier, but.
I talked to
Moving
Bill.
on here.
And which page? On the finance
Second, it's in
department? Fire
alphabetical order.
department?
The other part.
Fire department.
We did.
So we already know that there was some changes done to the 800 radio system. Okay, so we already talked about that a little bit. That's 400,000 for all departments. So you split it up, so we dropped the 200,000 off of them, so it's 100 and 100. We have that over 18 and 19. It's a pretty big project. And so we could drop the 200 and then they pitch in 200,000 and we pitch in 200,000. And John skates on that, obviously. So, but that would involve them. The big thing, I don't know whether Vince talked about, is there's a yearly cost, a monthly cost on those radios to go on to the county system. So we will have a monthly cost added on to that.
It's an operating cost associated.
It is an operating cost of the 800 system that's owned by Summit County, yes.
Okay.
So there would be that, so we would have to calculate that. It wouldn't necessarily be capital improvements,
Right.
but it would be that we don't pay now, basically. So
What's the ballpark number?
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay,
It would be based on all.
We're going to do the same thing. Questions at the end.
Yeah, start right there.
So our fire aerial truck replaced a 1991 unit. It is now a antique as of this year. It's 25 years old. So we need to replace that in next year. That will probably take, I wanted to order it this year and take delivery of it next year and pay for it next year. The fire safety trailer, that we will have the money for by next year in our fair account. So that one, we won't have to come up with money. We should have the money already in our account from our EMS billing. And then a staff vehicle, which that one would replace our command vehicle. And then 2018, we have a medic unit, 15 years, replacing a 2002 unit, another staff vehicle, and then of course the 800 radio upgrade. 19, we would have the rest of the 800 radio upgrade, and then a staff vehicle. And then we would be replacing a 2000 fire truck in 2020. It's out of certification after 20 years. And then replacing the CBA air compressor that we purchased. That air compressor is 1992. And then a staff vehicle in 2021. All replacements, nothing new. Have money for the fire safety trailer through our fair fund, which is funded through EMS billing. We'll have the money for that. I don't know where we're at on that, but we should be.
The EMS goes in the general fund.
Huh?
The EMS goes in the general fund.
Okay. Anything else you want to say, Chief?
Goes into the fair fund. 10%. I believe
Oh,
10% right there.
I think
So 10%.
10% out of the fair?
Yeah, I think it's 10 or 15%. Goes from the EMS billing into the fair fund. And that will.
10%, right, not the whole thing.
No, not the
Right.
whole thing, no. It goes in, the rest of it goes in the general fund. But we've been saving that money, for lack of a better term, to replace our fire safety trailer. We'll get as much as we can out of the current one that we have, but the technology's completely changed. and
What
it's-
would we do with the old one then?
I would try to trade it in. I would attempt to
Is
trade
there
it.
value to it to another department?
I don't know, the technology's really, I mean, the technology that they have now is phenomenal. So it really wouldn't be nothing like this. So, and if you remember, the Firefighters Association took donations and bought that trailer, so that was never.
Yeah, there's a lot of contributions back then.
Yes, there was a lot of them. They're all still on a board inside, so, but we paid for that by donation. So we could do something very similar this time, to put their names on the trailer and do something. I would be certainly up for that next year, to see if we can get donations for that. So, because it does go to Home Depot and it goes to Target and it goes to these areas, so they're utilizing it when we bring it over. So we would do that again. But we're estimated about $120,000 for a state-of-the-art trailer. So, and then just replacement of staff vehicles as they get old. Next year we'd be replacing a 2003 unit. So,
I appreciate your giving us the age on here, because it says the story.
Yeah, you know, we keep them as long as we possibly can. The engines are usually fine, they just rust apart. You know, our aerial tower, while we do absolutely everything to keep it in the best shape, the top is stainless, underneath is all metal. All the technology, all the wiring, everything is 1991. So it is now an antique this year. So,
Anything else?
no,
If not-
not unless there's any questions.
Mr. Bilkey, you're first.
I don't have any questions per se about the capital improvements. Just
And-
more about regionalization, if that's the, hopefully get, and we can spread this off.
Well, that would
All
change
these
it.
with all the
Absolutely.
communities
That
would be
you know, I mean,
fantastic.
if that did happen, we could drop off an engine in 2020. We wouldn't need to replace that engine. We had an aerial tower and an engine here and an engine in other places, yeah, we would. Basically, what they do is they pick one of your largest buildings, and you have to have a gallons per minute to be able to flow to put this building out if it catches on fire. If you don't have that needed fire flow, then everybody's insurance goes up because they know if the building catches on fire, you ain't putting it out because you can't get the gallons per minute up from your water system and from the engine. They add up all of the engine and the GP output. So right now, we're good for Macedonia. We meet that. That's why our ISO is a 2. Our ISO jumps hugely if we don't have an aerial truck, or they deem our aerial truck no longer in service, which it is out of service basically as far as certification. It's no longer certified. So they'll catch up, and then they say you don't have an aerial tower, then every business, their insurance jumps up. And then if it jumps up over a 4, then our residents are going to start paying. So,
Okay.
I have one more question about the air compressor, I'm sorry.
Okay.
There was a story in the news that the Cleveland Fire Department has to outsource the air compressor, because I didn't realize that it cost $700,000 to replace one of them.
no.
Or whatever it was, $100,000.
Yeah, it's 100, that's projected out at that time. Currently, it would be about 45,000 to replace ours. It is an air compressor, but it's a breathing air compressor. So the air must be filtered and
Right.
all the contaminants got to be filtered out. Therefore, it's got to be tested on a quarterly basis where they take an air sample and they change the filters and everything like that. And that's another huge savings. Right now, we have one, Northfield Center has one, and Northfield Village has one.
Right.
There's $90,000 a mile down the road that we didn't have to do. And we did that in 1992, and I'm sure the mayor probably remembers. We brought those communities in to try to co-buy that, and it fell through. And for probably 8 years, they came here and filled their air bottles until they purchased new ones. So,
Anything else, Mr. Bilkey?
I am
We're
done.
going around, we're going.
Oh, you're changing it up. I
Yes,
got you. I thought you
that's
were
right.
I'm
We're
sorry.
going-
I
we're going
apologize.
clockwise.
I
We've got to
digress.
wait now.
I
It's Miss
digress.
Hannigan's turn.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All right, questions, ISO rating related to this aerial truck. So the issue primarily is, from your standpoint, the effect on the ISO rating. Do we have, there are other aerial trucks in this area, am I correct?
No.
Well, let me,
and other
Can I
areas,
answer?
Twinsburg has 2.
yes, Twinsburg has
Twinsburg
two?
has 2, Hudson has 1. and Oakwood.
Hudson, and what about Oakwood?
Oakwood does.
Oakwood does?
Yeah, they're good for 2.5 miles.
Right, I understand. And there are other, I understand, just basically kind of flooding the area, there have been other aerial trucks. If we would go into a regionalization and we'd have one aerial truck, how would that be paid for? Would people be asked to contribute to that, or how would that work?
If we go into what, a regionalization?
Right, if we go into some sort of structured regionalization with a fire board or some other kind of thing.
I'll answer that, Chief. I mean, I was at a meeting just a couple weeks ago where we talked about that, and I believe that you were there, Sylvia, and we talked about that if we went into regionalism, that the idea would be is that each of our communities would drop our current levy that we have for fire levy, and we would go to the ballot throughout the Nordoni Hills area and provide for that. That's the way it would work, and then we would all be on an even playing field. That's the answer to that question.
I wasn't at the meeting that you're referring to.
But we've stated that as
Well, but you know, I'm
Hold
trying
on,
to
hold on,
clarify.
Hold on. So the question is, if we regionalize, which is future, and
Right.
maybe it happens next year,
Right.
the money would be out of a levy that all those who've regionalized, and then that would be equally shared in dollars.
Yeah, if we did go into a fire district, then there would be a property tax that's equal throughout the
There
area,
would
so
be a
everybody
tax.
pays based on their property tax. And that would have to go to the voters, obviously.
Right.
They would have to change the charter,
And then
and then we would also change the charter and do this property tax that would fund the fire department.
There would have to be.
And then that
And then
would
all
pay for the
monies
equipment.
then would be pulled in, and the equipment would be bought from there, yes.
Okay, and since we're not there yet in 2017, this would be ours.
Yes, we need to. we
Okay,
need to
so,
purchase one.
yeah.
Anything else before we move on?
A question about the 25-year-old aerial truck. You say that, it's 25 years old. Is it functioning at this point?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
It is functioning. And one thing about the aerial tower I'd just like to add is, it's not necessarily height. It's not height, it's reach. It'd be nice if you could pull up right next to every building, but you can't. There's alcoves, there's distances that you're far. So everybody thinks, well, it's 100 feet straight up. That's if you're right next to the building. You have to be able to reach out to be able to get that. All of our houses are set back, 100 feet? And we have a 100-foot aerial tower. We can't reach any of our houses, even with our current aerial tower, to get onto the roof, to do any type of rescue that we have. So that's it. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we have an aerial tower. It's not just height, it's reach. So, it's like that. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Muller?
Thank you, Ms. Chair. There's some ill-advised rumors going around that we don't need a ladder truck. And I know there's some buildings in town. Approximately how many buildings would you say that vehicle is necessitated by?
Is it necessitated by?
So if there was a structure
No.
fire, I'm sure there's many, many buildings, but I mean, I guess the question again is, we absolutely need it, correct? It's not a want, it's a need.
It is showed that we're needed for NFPA, ISO. It's been used here many times. Right now, it does run free of charge to the other communities. I did ask those other chiefs at the time if their communities would pay it, and they said, no, we get it for free. That's it. So basically, we spend $1 million, and when they need it, they call it, and it runs over there for free. And they're fully aware of that, so.
Plus it goes to all the schools.
Well, that's another huge one. Our junior high's 3 floors with 2 sets of stairs on each end. And those are our residents over there too. So yes, it does go to the school. It goes to our high school, which, the reach to get inside of.
How do you get to the middle if you didn't
Exactly,
have
because
that?
it is such a large school. So you have a 3-story Board of Education over there. There's no kids in there, but that's a 3-story Board of Education that is set far back from the road. I mean, it's not like you can pull right next to it. You're good 60, 70, the junior high,
Well, I'll give you a good example. I remember the day when aerosol caught on fire, remember? Pulled up on the street, we had the aerial truck, and I went on the site that time, and that thing was burning and exploding, and I ordered everybody out of the building. But that tower was still there and could shoot down on top of that building and put up and extinguish that fire. But it was blowing up all over the place. I mean, it was probably one of the worst fires that we had in our community from a standpoint of dangerous chemicals and mixing.
Yeah, if that tank would have went, we
would have been really.
We would have had a civil service test, so.
Anything else?
So it's a need, it's not a want. The current piece of equipment is ailing, I'm assuming, and we're gonna need to replace it due to technology and everything else.
Yeah,
And then the
absolutely.
last simplest question, if we order that in 17, we get it in 18, correct?
Yeah, it's about a year build unless we find a demo. We've been actively trying to get a grant for the aerial tower. We've been writing them, and every year for the last 5 years, we've written a grant for an aerial tower. The federal government's just not giving money for aerial towers at this time. What helps, if we do it, is to show that other communities are involved in it, but they're writing their own, trying to get their own equipment. So we've said that it goes to these other communities, but unless there's a buy-in with these other communities, they're not going to give us the money.
So
Right now,
Perhaps with now having Sagamore, we can probably use their.
we will. We'll use
their-
anything that we
yeah.
possibly can, but right now, the key word out there is consolidation, regionalization, it is. Everybody's being forced to do that. So just by lack of dollars and just such a high cost for
It's
equipment.
expensive. Is there across the board here, you could buy this over what period of time?
Well, I mean, there's many options. A lot of departments buy it over a 10-year period.
Okay,
So
that's what I wanted.
we could fund it out. And those funding options are you know, there's so multiple that I couldn't put them all in here, so.
I just want to know, you don't have to buy it all at once.
Oh, absolutely not.
But I
There's
think that the
bonding
consideration
and-
is,
Bonded out the first torch, you bonded out.
it is required, based on your question, based on, you just told me about a house, I think about, I'm back and I'm up the
Plus you have
hill.
some Point Vista Springs too. Yeah, those are more than one
So
story.
our 91 was 465,000.
So I have
double.
two more
I think
questions.
under-
What was the 2.5 miles? So the aerial trucks only go 2.5 miles?
ISO rates it, it's derated after 2.5 miles.
Okay.
They say it's not effective for it to
Oh,
get on
that's-
scene when the fire's basically, the building's lost.
Gotcha.
So,
And I know I probably, what is the fair fund? Is it just
It's,
that was the mayor's fund, it was like the DARE, Fire Awareness Instruction and Respect. It's a class that we hold in all
is
of
it,
our schools.
it's
We-
automatically financed through a
they
levy?
take it from the EMS.
We take it from the EMS, and it's an
Collections.
education. I had trained instructors from the state that taught fire safety to our schools. It was done away with in 2009, but we still have the trailer. We want to bring it back. We really want to bring it back. So,
Anything else? If not, thank you, sir. Yours are always hard to argue with, yours and Chief's. Chief Bolton. Next up,
Last page, service.
Mr. Nanavich. Wait a minute, I gotta find your page.
It's the long one.
Oh, it's the last page, the last half of the last page.
Yep.
Okay, because we're not gonna talk Brexit. We're just,
I can talk box it all
right, okay, sir.
now. Okay, first up for bid is.
Before I start,
Uh-oh.
are these in priority order, or will you?
No, they're not in
So
priority
you
order.
will, again, thank you.
Yeah, I'll just in priority.
And can I ask, is he gonna talk about the parks that has nothing to do with the the recreation
So,
levy?
As far as equipment or
Because we have
vehicles.
Yeah,
parks.
you could, yeah, as
We're
long as
gonna
we're
hold
not
the
talking
questions
about
to the end,
anything that
too, then?
deals with, you know, like cutting grass, yes, but overall, no.
We have a lot of questions.
You're gonna do
We're gonna hold
service
the
first and
questions
then.
Yeah, I'll do service first.
That looks, seems
All right,
good.
start with the service department.
First is our service garage. Currently work out of 3 locations in the building. That's,
I just looked
that's
at the
that's a
number.
generous cost. I'm not sure the ages of the buildings. I know we took over the county building on Twinsburg Road about 11 years ago.
Yep,
9,000, I don't even know when that was built. That is a metal shack.
it's been there
Steel
forever.
structure, on a steel structure. I don't even know the year.
70s.
Was it 70s? And we also occupied the old fire department after we tore down the police side. We need to consolidate into one location, be more efficient. We have to go in the morning, travel down the road a couple miles to get other pieces of equipment that we may need to perform our tasks. These buildings are falling apart, they're dilapidated. We have rats for pets.
You name them yet? Sorry, I'll hold my questions.
So,
So this is something that needs to be addressed at the location. The second one, there's the compact excavator.
wait,
What?
real quick,
Okay.
for the service garage, add more in your description back of where, what.
It
Don't
would have to
need
be,
to now.
best
but
location would be at 9,000. We have
we're
the
gonna
most
need
acreage there.
A lot more details. I get why you want
Yeah.
one, trust me.
We
But-
need to be able to enclose our equipment and our vehicles, everything that goes with.
It's a mess.
We shouldn't be storing our plows outside in the weather. They have not been touched in years. They have never been touched since the day we bought them. They need to be sandblasted and painted. We need to upgrade our facility as far as our mechanics to where we're running airlines and supply lines for oil, hydraulics. We need to update our systems.
I just said if you could put pen to paper what it would do for us and where you're thinking
Making
you
me
would
happy
do it.
wouldn't be good enough.
That would get everybody a visual picture.
Okay.
Thank
We
you.
do have to come up with some concept designs too. How we would
Perfect.
store everything.
Legos works.
Of course.
Okay.
I have one at home.
I would like to see a conceptual layout, not a
Mhm. Yeah,
detail.
right. Well, I want to take dimensions up at the yard. On the right-hand side where we store all of our materials, I've been looking to get rid of all that, but it's very hard because it's a mixture of concrete, stone, asphalt, lumber,
playgrounds, but that would be the
We
ideal.
would sell some of these facilities also.
I wouldn't see a need to keep
Lease the
it close to
property.
road. But just, I'd like to keep 9,000
Yes. I
where it's
know.
at and resell it for
Right,
for
I
cold
get it,
storage.
I get it.
I just wanted to tell the number why we all went.
Oh, the common.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, and next we have a compact excavator. We can get multi-uses out of this also for our parks, but also using something like this on the streets for our catch basins, keep us more off of the lane to allow.
Talking about a mini?
Yep, a mini excavator, to open up our catch basins.
That compact needs a mini.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a track. Anything off-road as well. Example, using these also at the ball diamonds would be digging out the sand bases along the fence lines, installing drainage. This is something we've asked for years, but it's never fallen high on the list. It's always been kicked down. Pickup trucks, 6 of them total. In 2000, 2003, purchased 8 vehicles, 8 pickup trucks. They have not been replaced since. The V-Box salt spreaders with liquid application I'm asking for our plow trucks. This is to allow us to brine more streets. We do have an aquasaline brine solution that I do believe works. We have used it, we only use it on hills and major intersections. It's a 700-gallon tank that we have in one of our trucks that barely runs now. Allowing us to put these on our V-boxes will allow us to brine more roads, more hills in the developments that we normally don't get to, because like I said, it's a 700-gallon tank to run back and forth. You go through it pretty fast. The V-boxes, why I say these is because that way you don't have to shift your load of salt while you're driving. There's times you're driving down the road, you realize your spreader stops, you have to stop the truck to raise the bed to shift the load down. Traffic behind you, and plus you don't drive around with your bed up in the air, which has been done before. So this is an efficiency factor. Holds just as much salt as a bed would, but there's no hang-ups, no shifting of salt. You run until it runs out, and then you go back and get more. The hook lift truck and leaf machine was an idea we had with our lacking number. The leaf machine concept was designed to have one person and maybe one raker, that you would operate the leaf machine from the truck. We have a tandem that does not get used that much, that we looked into outfitting into a hook lift vehicle. But also this would allow us to not tie up another truck on a job. We could take a dump box to the job site, drop it off, perform our work, and come back and pick it up later. Mechanics lifts, this is for 9,000 or for at a mechanic shop. We just hired another mechanic, and the ones that we have now are obsolete. We're going to try to make repairs to them, but they need to be replaced as well. And this is also acquiring a second set, so we can use all 3 of our bays at the garage for fixing equipment. Compact roller, this is in addition to with our hot mix. Once we start doing that this year, we're looking at possibly even renting to try some out. But this is what the compact roller is going to be for when we do our hot mix repairs. Tow motor, self-explanatory. That's, we get truckloads of materials in. The current one we have here at Garage 2 has no brakes. You have to bump into the back of a semi to stop yourself. You have to crawl. It's a 1970, I think that one's a 74.
Don't use it anymore.
And the one at 9,000 is just as old, and we use that all the time. The one-ton dump trucks, I'm asking for 2 of them. They are well beyond their age. I believe one is a 97, the other is a 99. The sign shop printer plotter, it was mentioned in the last finance meeting. This was to increase efficiency for the sign shop, use of less material. Currently, he's going through about 70% of his material just to make a sign, because the program stops working, the cutter doesn't work properly. Under plow trucks, these are our big trucks. The first one is to replace truck 7 that should have been down already, but we restored it to use as our brine truck. That's for the replacement for 17. The backhoe. I don't know the year.
Left out the bucket truck.
Oh, did I skip one?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, the bucket truck, I'm sorry. We currently have a 97 bucket truck for our sign shop. We need an additional bucket truck to perform electrical duties. We will be taking on our own street lighting. We already replaced the street lights, the stop lights when they're not working. We rebulb them. So we need another bucket truck to be able to perform these jobs, because we can't start stopping one department, you know, the sign shop to go do electrical work and vice versa. Backhoe. I cannot remember the year of the backhoe, but I do have my sheet with me. This one is it's a 97. Was scheduled to be replaced in 2013. We're still currently holding on to. This may last longer than 17. We may be able to get a couple more years out, but depending on what can happen to it, we try to keep it, you know, as best shape as possible. We are going to have to look into sandblasting the body and get it painted, though, next year for sure. Leaf machine, that is to replace our Tarco that we purchased from Catawba Island in the 90s. We've outfitted with an automated arm. That is for that replacement.
We had one replaced recently.
We sold 2 of our older American roads and bought a new American road 2 years ago. The 10-foot plows, 4 of them are to replace the trucks that were purchased prior to the Freightliners that we received. Never had plows purchased for them. We're using plows from older trucks from the 90s that they don't all fit the hitches the right way. They hang up. Salt shed, we have this clear span type of dome style tent we need. We're going to be receiving in probably the first week of June 3,150 tons of salt, and nowhere to put it right now. We have to take it. ODOT extended an offer to hold on, or Cargill did, I'm sorry, not ODOT. Cargill offered to hold on to the salt for $10 a ton until December 31st. We're not paying $31,000 for them to hold on to our salt. We're gonna build up some walls in our garages. We're gonna store it outside and tarp it best we can. But we need another facility to holding salt. The current sheds we have now are falling apart. One at 9,000 leaks like a sieve. Water sits inside of it. The one at Twinsburg Road was already replaced before, but everything is rotting away on it again. The walls were coming undone on that one. Then, okay, now we'll go to 2018. Would be the replacement of truck 18.
So that's
This is just
one
meeting.
truck, right?
That's just one truck.
Okay.
That's following off the 10-year. 2019 would be replacement of truck 14, which is our 2009 utility truck. It's an F450 utility bed. It's our construction vehicle. Truck 3 would be replaced. That's one of our big plow trucks. That is a 2004. And then 2020, anticipated its sister truck, truck number 4, which is a 2005, to be replaced. We've already replaced the firewall and interior dash on that truck already. We've spent lots of money on that vehicle. Oh, I'm sorry, did I skip the Grado?
Yes.
Yes, I did in 2019. This could be earlier.
What is the grade? I'm sorry.
That's our excavator for our ditching, construction jobs. We're in the process right now of replacing a major hydraulic line on it again that we did 4 years ago. Parts are coming harder. They're harder to come by. We've had to order from Europe before to get them. 19's a projection. Next year could be a Ford. It's falling apart.
Okay.
What do I have in 2000? Oh, in 2021, I'm sorry, is the Dinkmar leaf machine scheduled for replacement. I gotta look at the parts.
Which is the one on top of the police department?
Mm-hmm.
Page 3.
Mm-hmm. What wouldn't fall under the, well, anything regarding the levy would be under the rec center only,
Right.
so. The Windmill Center parking lot is in need of
Previous
repair.
page.
Bad.
Yeah.
What page are we on?
Previous
Oh,
page.
three.
Previous
The
page.
page three, right above the police department.
At the top.
Longwood baseball field, the lighting. This is for 2 fields. Sugar Bush Drive, parking lot needs to be redone. At least the oval if you're gonna do anything. Chip and seal the front entrance, but the oval has to be addressed in parking. Pickup truck, this is a replacement of truck 44 that has been down for over 2 years. We use it as a parts vehicle to supplement our other ones. This one was one of the ones purchased in 2003 as well. Bucket truck for this one is in lieu of, for our arborist duties, actually having an articulating arm to get up for tree trimming. LED lighting in Memorial. This is replacing the carriage-style lights surrounding the park right now to LED. Same with the rec center. This is all LED for the parking lot. Jacobson Truckster. We started working on the trails last week. We've run into some headaches, but they're working through them. We have to add some more material because the rain's kind of washing things out. This is something that can help out with the trails for maintaining them once they're in. And once we finally have them all installed. This is a utility vehicle that can handle the off-terrain, hauling material back there. They have a Cushman right now, but it holds a wheelbarrow. That's it. The Jakesman 11-foot mower is also in lieu with the big Jake that we have now that's a 12-foot cutting deck. This is to allow, only having 2 guys in our park system, allowing them to cover more ground with mowing. You can't cut all the parks on 0-turn mowers. The Ventrac is another all-purpose utility vehicle. One of the attachments we're looking at with this, with the trails, is also a blower attachment for snow blowing, and also at the rec center for the walkways. We have been responsible for the walkways at the rec center. So having this piece of equipment would help instead of someone getting out of their truck and trying to shovel them when the snow blower won't start from sitting outside in the cold all night. The Turfco top dresser, that's a pull behind unit that would allow us to put seed, fertilizer down in the parks. The garage roof, this is including the barns as well. They're in dire need of repair. There's water infiltrating the barn area right now that we've actually moved some of the areas in the main barns where Jason's located in the office. We've opened up some walls to allow vehicles and equipment to start getting parked in there. Because it's that bad. And no floors, they're still on dirt and stone. And our trail rehab, what we're doing right now is for the 5K. It's not the way we would do it, but the time that we have to do it in is the best way we can right now. So we are gonna have to look at, when we do the other trails, we're finished off with crushed run on top to actually make them walkable. That's all
I have one quick question. I get to start going around in circles here. Yeah.
To which one?
The barn and the barn,
Which I believe is protected under historical.
are they true, the barns are?
I believe it is it not? Barns
Yes,
did fall
it is.
under
They
with the
did
manor
the
house.
barns too?
The barns
Those
are part
barns
of,
should have went down 20 years ago.
the barns are
Yeah,
part
The
of.
barns probably should have gone down, no question
Yeah.
about it. The barn is,
So
I
is the
don't know.
Manor House Committee working to take care of those?
I really need to have a conversation with them, because I really think that big barn, I haven't walked through it, I wanna go through it.
Yeah, see the
and look at
improvements.
structural situation to it, but
Yeah.
Well, they were in trouble 20-some years ago when we had a group that looked to purchase the one, but remember they wanted to rent the barn to do plays and staging. And structurally it didn't pass. Those should have come, okay.
The barn on the west side, the big barn with the garage bays that face 82.
Right.
We just redid the center support wall of that place. It was falling over. We redid it over there.
Well, if they got put into.
They were in the
If they
layout.
get put into the manor house, then I think they need, if they get put into historical, it needs to be pulled into that entire manor house project. That's,
Well, I don't disagree with you. I think that barn probably should come down. I'm gonna tell you, that's why I wanna take a look at it. If it's in that bad a structural condition, we'll recommend that they agree that we should go to the National Register and take it off and take it down. Because I don't know that that's
Yeah.
money that you'd be chasing to
Right.
probably keep it sound.
that's the only one I have. Mr. Engel, we're going clockwise if you have any questions on what he presented.
Just one question, what year is the Gradle?
The Gradle is a 2099. Oh, I'm sorry, I lied, it was 2004.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Molnar.
Are the mechanics lifts safe right now? Is it something that we should be worried about?
It's not that we repaired them.
Are they
Mark's
safe?
lift,
Yes or no?
yeah, I know they're safe. They still function.
The other question I have is with the grade all with, I think a lot of communities are going through given the great cost of these, could we pick up one that's maybe not operating or being sold right now for parts, just to limp that thing through, at least till 2019?
I haven't seen one for sale. That model. Can look, so it's always
Just
an
a
option,
thought,
yeah.
I mean, just
It's
to
an
limp
option.
it through, because I mean, the parts are that hard to come by, I'm thinking a lot of communities are
Right.
probably having the same issue and dumping them off and selling them for scrap.
The only one I know who has one similar to ours is Hudson. I believe theirs is a tracked model, if I'm not mistaken.
That's all I got.
Mr.
I have a
Bucky.
few. The compact roller, does that work in conjunction with what we approved this year with the skid steer? How does,
Yeah, that wasn't putting, because I couldn't get a quote on that final piece in time.
okay,
We may be able to still purchase this year,
okay,
once I get final numbers for the skid steers.
gotcha. So that would work in conjunction with it?
Yes,
You
it would.
Tear up and then you'd roll the street down, that's what I'm getting,
Mhm.
okay. The plotter,
Yeah,
was there a law or some sort of guideline that these signs needed to be up by, and we're gonna meet that?
there was, but it was lifted, because it was too strenuous on communities to uphold. And costly. There was a time frame. It was 2017 was the time frame, but that is no longer in effect.
You talking about the retro reflectivity?
Mhm.
Okay. So that's not a need now, obviously, but you know what I'm saying, it's not a need now because we're not on any deadline to get those up.
No, but people are waiting for their signs, so
Oh,
I've been patient for
I know,
2
well,
years.
exactly, but, we don't want to get fined because we don't have them.
Right.
The bucket truck, same thing. Is that, we have plenty of lights that are out, I know in my neighborhoods. Do we currently have one bucket
We
truck?
have one bucket truck.
For the signage?
Yes,
and then
and
is
we
this-
use for our
is
street
this-
lights as well, but
Is this $90,000 replacing that bucket truck or adding a new one?
no, it's adding a new one.
Okay.
Still want to keep the 97 that we have. Still functions, so we
Okay.
don't need to get rid of it yet.
And then from your presentation on the service department, what are we gonna do with the salt? Is there something that needs to be done immediately to build a structure?
Hey, you want to build one for us?
I'm just asking, do we need to?
I would love to, 9,000. I'd love to be able to put a clear span tarp up to hold 5,000-6,000 ton, but the time frame from when we have to order now
Uh-huh.
to get it will not be done in time.
Sounds like we're gonna have a heck of a margarita party, huh?
Mhm.
All right, I have a couple of things about the parks. The bucket truck, do we currently have one for the parks?
No.
So that's an addition. And that Jacobson truckster that you have at 32 grand,
Yes.
didn't we, is that the same as a skid steer machine that we approved to
No.
purchase?
No, it's almost along the lines of an ATV, but it's a multi-purpose unit. It would haul the spreader, the Turfco spreader on the back end of it for seating. It could be, for taking off roads, for taking to the parks. It also has a dump bed on it. It can haul 2 ton of material back there.
How big is it? As big as this table?
It's like a gator.
Close to.
It's like a little gator, right?
Yeah, but it's larger than a Gator.
So it's, okay, that's right, I'm just trying to get in my mind what it looks like, but it's not a skid steer machine that's
No,
going to.
no, it's a wheeled machine.
That
and haul
skid steer
material.
machine is supposed to basically cut the trail lines, correct?
Yes,
And that machine would help maintain it.
yes, and that's all bring material back to it.
All right. The trails, I know that I talked to Janelle before. Where are we at applying for grant money to help maintain those trails once we get them in? Or is there a program? I know I looked at a few that,
Nothing yet to sign up for.
but it's early next year. I know that the
I haven't seen
ODNR has trails.
Right.
But we have to start
maintenance,
looking
but I
at the
know
fall
that,
for
uh,
applying for next year.
What I read is it's easier to get one if you have funding for it.
Yes.
That you're already doing something to the trails, and if it connects to a larger trail and not just a circular one.
Yeah, we're working on trails right now, obviously, just doing it in-house and doing a lot of
Cleanup.
work to
Yeah.
get the trails so that they're passable, so that there's no washouts and stuff like that.
And Kevin, to your point, there was discussion when Mayor Prokop was in Twinsburg, was there a way that we could tie the trails together? Because then we both could go for grant
Right.
money. The problem is, we don't have anything that goes close enough to where the
Connects.
trail is at this
Right,
point.
I've been
Yeah.
looking,
Yep.
trying to find what it hasn't.
And there's more money, federal money too, if you can do that.
Anything else, Mr. Bilkey?
That's a valid perfect blower, skid steer machine, no, that was it.
Just one point I want to, if you don't pass me up.
Okay, I usually catch up because you know a lot of
Josephine
questions.
handed this to me, which I think is interesting information. I said that the 9,000 was built around in the 70s, but it actually was 1980. And it's sitting on 6.6 acres, and it had a value at that time of 615,000.
When was
That's
it,
the
sir?
current value, that's the
Current
current value.
value.
That's funny, one of my questions was, that's the one across from Thousand Oak, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anybody thought about purchasing land to build a new service garage? I know that I talked to Dawn about Empire, but it was still saturated with,
Bedford anodizing.
you know,
Well, we're working on Bedford anodizing. We've had numerous meetings. We're getting very close. There's a lot of the US EPA, the Ohio EPA, NEFCO, Summit Water and Soil.
so the
Everybody's
city
involved.
does the city currently own the
No.
rights, but it's in foreclosure, correct?
It's out of foreclosure. It's just waiting for the placement. The county is holding it,
The county's own, that's right, okay.
holding it to make a transfer. They want us to give it to the city. And it's about 25 acres. And I don't want to take exception, or take and receive it unless
Fix it.
we know that it's totally been
Cleaned up.
Cleaned up. They have already put about $1.5 million in cleanup into the site. So that's already been done by the US EPA.
There's more to do.
There, well, we don't know that. We're waiting on seeing what Phase 1 has produced, which meant that they did do the basic cleanups. Phase 2, we're looking at NEFCO to give us a grant so that we can go to Phase 2 and get it paid for. And that's where we're at right now. But the US EPA has been very cooperative. They came in just the other day. I think we met on last, or the week before last, and we met out at the site as well, walked the property. There's been a lot of cleanup there, which is remarkably in good shape. The buildings were starting to fall down, but otherwise, and we're probably looking at about 100,000 plus to just demo the building, but there's a lot of reclamation there that can be done.
Has anyone ever had the value of the 3 service buildings? You know what the values are of any of them? What the
No,
civic
but I
value
think
was
that,
there?
that would be,
What's the other
615?
address? What's our other address?
948 Twinsburg Road.
and that's
Well,
where,
let's see,
You're gonna
You
put
can't put
together
a value
the
on this
plan.
one here, it's part of.
I'm just negotiating that
Other
on
stuff would
behalf
be
of the county.
at the
They
rec
did
center.
knock it down, though.
Or at the,
Yeah.
at Longwood Park. Right, you
So
would, you
it's a
consider
demo
that
house.
part of the service buildings? I mean, you wouldn't sell that either,
No.
though? You wouldn't
No, that's a
sell
part,
the
Considered.
right?
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
part.
So it's just those 2 buildings?
Right.
and that's where John will put together what the plan is of why we think we need $4 million.
Yeah, well.
And I know that you want a wash bay, and I know that's a big thing
Yep.
to put, if you build a new building, to put an indoor wash bay, so you can keep Would you be able to show that with the fire department? Would you guys keep those?
Absolutely. Is Tim here? Absolutely not.
Okay, Ms. Hannigan.
Okay, a couple of bigger picture items here. You, having looked at all the buildings that we do have, all of our buildings for the service department are in deplorable shape. If we consolidate to one site, you were suggesting Valley View, which is fine. If we go to a situation where someone hands the keys to us to a property that is totally cleaned up, that'd be a different story, you know.
Right.
Yeah, if so far they wanted us to take it over to manage the cleanup, which was a couple of years ago. And that would be a disaster in my opinion, based on the amount of work that's involved in the management of it. It's very difficult. But I really think we do need to make, it doesn't have to be in 2017, but we have to have a plan out for this.
Right, that's
And
what he's going to do. He's going to put a
Right.
plan together with
Right.
the details.
Because
So-
right now we have black mold in too many of these buildings, and this is
Don't
dangerous.
forget pets that are rats.
And we have rats, but they don't mind the black mold, but I don't think people are good with black mold.
So what question
It's-
do you have?
Okay, let me go to a couple of other issues here. The salt shed, the clear span, we are having, basically, we are getting delivered stuff that we don't have any more room for, is that what you're saying?
Right.
They're
We're
already
required to
full.
order a minimum balance of salt for the year.
Uh-huh.
We were on the line for 4,900 ton. We
Uh-huh.
only used 1,800.
In this past year?
Yes.
So we can only afford to put 1,800 ton in, but, so we don't have room for the other?
No, it's not that we can't afford to. That's all we used this year for the winter.
What I'm
So we're-
saying
we
is
have-
there's no
we don't-
room for
no.
additional
I
salt.
might be able to get, if we can make some quick repairs to 9,000's roof,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and see if we can squeeze 1,000 ton in there. And it's
Okay.
gonna be hard.
But we're still
But it's a couple thousand, oh, yeah.
space.
Right.
All right, so there's
Which has done in the
carpet or
past.
do something.
Right.
Okay, all right. And the,
I didn't know what you said.
let me look to
Into the parks.
the parks area here. Sorry. There is nothing, is there anything in here related to Memorial Park?
Just the lights,
Only the lights?
the upgrade of the lights, yeah.
So none of the other
Still don't
issues?
have a definitive plan to base a dollar amount off.
Memorial Park is under building and engineering.
Okay.
That's all. Yeah.
That's why I
It's
thought.
under building and engineering.
I don't know why, but
I was just gonna ask that question, why is that? I don't know.
Well, they laid out the
Since
grounds
it says
too,
parks.
for the elevations.
Yep.
that's
Right,
why,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so,
so we'll talk about that then. Anything else so we can move along?
Great.
I want to be conscious of the time tonight.
Go ahead.
It's a good building though. It's still standing after over 100
Thank you.
years.
1913,
All right, thanks.
2.22 acres.
Next in the hot seat is our administration.
Administration, you're up there.
AJ.
Yeah.
Talk to you guys.
For those of you who don't know, Mayor, would you like to introduce the gentleman coming to the table? Mayor, for those who don't know. to
AJ,
introduce-
you've never met AJ? This is AJ. our IT guy.
Not
And
sure
AJ 's
everyone
here
has
to-
had that opportunity, so.
He's here to tell you what we need to spend in IT.
page 2.
Page 2 in your hymnals. Oh, IT department, there we are.
It's all in alphabetical order by department.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first item, I guess wireless shouldn't really be on there, but it's basically just the internet cost that we're looking at, about $7,000 a year. Currently, every building in the city has their own internet connection, so it's all outdated. It hasn't been upgraded in I don't know how long. What I plan on doing is bringing a fiber optic connection into City Hall, and then from there, hopefully, connect wirelessly to other buildings.
To all the buildings?
You need line of sight, so you need a clear line of
That's
sight.
what I'm asking.
So the rec center will be definitely doable. At 9,000, we're looking at putting up our own tower and then doing a connection from there. Overall, that's cheaper than renting leasing fiber optic connection from Time Warner Windstream, which that costs about $400 a month, or you can just upfront pay for it and then you don't have to pay per month. So we are looking at doing wireless in terms of that, but just for the internet connection, you're looking at $7,000. Now this is also really not a new cost, because what we're going to do is get rid of some of the other services that we have. So it'll be very, very little, if anything, we're going to pay more per month than what we currently pay in terms of internet. Next item is Microsoft licensing. This includes our email server. Also, we have file servers, Microsoft Office. So it includes all of them. Also, for servers, we have a couple servers that are out of date. They're no longer supported by Microsoft. They need to be upgraded. And upfront, about $10,000, and there's a renewal fee per year. That it also includes your licensing for email and file servers. You have to pay per user. So we're a little behind on our licensing. Next item is the website redesign. As most of you know, our website is really out of date, so we're looking at getting it redesigned. And next item is so how you do servers these days is you really want to have one or multiple physical servers that host virtual servers. Our server was actually replaced, which I was pleasantly surprised when I started here a couple years ago. So I have that in 3 years out to be replaced. And that kind of goes along with a 5-year refresh cycle for servers, which is a good idea. After that, stuff starts, the hard drives will fail, and they just become very slow. You have lots of problems. Next item is a new backup appliance and the software. Currently, our backups are terrible. They're out of date. They're very slow. They take 7-8 hours to run one backup, which can interrupt the. It should be a lot faster. It's just it was a very cheap system when it was put in. It just does not perform very well. Next item is a project to connect the rec center wirelessly. Basically, what we would do is have, again, one internet connection here, beam that over to the rec center. And then they have their own internet connection, we would get rid of that. Next item is a spam filter. Currently, we use a Dell Sonic Wall spam filter, and it is absolutely terrible. I did modify it, and I think over the past couple weeks, you should have seen a cut down on the amount of spam that you receive. But still, it's a security issue.
Right.
We get stuff called ransomware, which is a really nasty virus right now. Gets through. Hopefully I can filter most of that, but it still lets some stuff through. So that would be the price with a 3-year license. Email archiver. We don't archive any email right now. So it's saved on the email server, so it is still there, but we don't.
You don't back it up?
It's backed up, but actually doing like a public records request is very difficult.
I see.
It's very time consuming.
Because they have to go back to the server and go back through.
You basically pull the mailbox for each user, and then you have to search through it. It's not in one system.
Right.
It's very inexpensive to do, and it basically
cheap.
gives you the hard drives in one appliance. And then we have no off-site backups right now. So I'd like to set something up when we fix the internet connection to the rec center to do an off-site backup and just store it in the rec center. Again, not too expensive to do. And if I can, there were a couple things put into the city hall. Just the first 2 items, I can speak to those, or if you'd like me to wait, I can.
Each one.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about those if you would.
Sure.
'Cause I was actually thinking now that maybe we should have put them in under IT.
Yeah, well, so the phone system is for the whole city.
He actually took it out of IT and put it into the city hall.
Well, I mean, however you want to do it.
But he's the one who knows about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to be clever. The CMI upgrade, is that what we're talking about?
No, we're
Okay,
talking,
so-
first page is City Hall.
Yeah, page 1.
I just want to go over the first two items
Oh, I
related
see.
to IT.
Right.
So there's a phone system. Our
Right.
phone system is about 25 years old. It just needs to be replaced. We pay a maintenance contract per month.
Right.
We pay we have a T1 connection from here to the rec center that supports the phone system. So, I mean, that alone,
It's expensive.
we could almost finance a new system for the same price.
Right.
This includes equipment, phones, and the switches to power the phones. FM 200, so right now, we have if you walk into the server room, there's sprinkler heads all over all the equipment down there. If there were some type of fire, it would spray water all over all the servers, all the police station stuff. It's just not a good situation. So what we're looking at is FM 200, which is a gas, and if it does trigger that, it sprays gas to put the fire out as opposed to spraying water. The 40,000 covers the whole server room, so that's police and also the city center stuff, also the mechanical room where all the breaker boxes are.
Okay.
And that is all for IT.
Anything else?
That's it.
I just chuckle. Okay, and I've had several discussions, because this is my day job, so I just go.
Nothing's been updated for
Yeah.
very
We
long.
just- So, Mr. Engel, any questions?
No.
Mr. Molnar?
One quick more of a statement. Email archiver, I think that's something we ought to consider maybe now this year, given the wild popularity of public records requests, that we can expedite that process. Might not be a bad idea, given the nominal cost of that.
Yeah, what we would do is
Just a
import
thought.
the mailboxes that are currently just stored on the Exchange server and put them into the archiver for easy access.
Anyone opposed to that in our next meeting? I don't think that that's a bad thing.
I have to amend the budget for it. Unless I do just at a later date.
Insofar as the request is email related, yeah, that would help.
Can you add that to our next meeting, please?
I can't.
Thank you. That's all I have.
That's what I'm looking at me to say it was okay.
I was making sure you were aware.
Oh, I'm hearing it. I was just saying, I can't help with the money part. I can make sure we talk about it.
Mr. Bilkey?
Hey, Joe, when you say Microsoft upgrades and licensing, is that the same as buying the Excel and Windows program?
It's everything. So there's different components. If you want to start with, you have your server licensing, which we have like Server 2003 is one of our servers. That would include like an upgrade to 2012. Also, every user that accesses files off of a server, you have to buy something called a CAL, which is a client access license. Microsoft, I mean, you should buy that.
Yeah.
We did at one time, but it doesn't apply to some of the servers that we have. Also Office too.
So in 17, it's 10, and then you think it's going to be a continued cost of 5,000 every year?
There's a different way you
thereafter?
can do it. I haven't explored it too much, and I will. But you can upgrade every year, and you have the most recent updates for Office, mainly Office. And then you have to buy server CALs every year.
Okay.
Microsoft licensing
That
is
was my
very
question.
cheap.
What's needed every year?
Yeah.
And what is, it'd be good, but, maybe it's not going to hurt if it's.
No, I mean, we
say
have to
third
buy
year or something.
Exchange CALs. We have to buy these licenses. I don't think we're compliant right now with Microsoft. So it's not,
Awesome.
it's something that we should take care of very soon. Even if we start with the server CALs, definitely.
Okay.
I had a Microsoft vendor, they ran a report, and I didn't see Exchange on there. Other options to doing this would be to transfer to like Gmail. And we may want to look at that too, because that includes archiving, it includes spam filtering, it includes your email. It's $50 per user per year. So that may be an option too.
So I think you have a city email then.
Yeah,
Right? Kind of judge who needs one and who doesn't.
you can, yeah.
Gee, and stuff.
It also includes Google Docs, which is you can share documents among each other.
So you listed a lot of things in 2017. Is there anything that's absolutely necessary? That's what I kind of pinpointed because you said we're not compliant.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you want to redo the website. I know it's not great for my cell phone, but when it's on a regular PC, it seems to be fine. But it's not compatible with my phone. You get the things that overlap and the ads and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
It's not designed for you.
So what would you consider, I guess, in your number one if you had to do one?
Are we gonna prioritize
We're
though,
gonna
and I'll send that back
Yeah,
out?
okay. That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
I'll
Okay.
do
Yeah,
that.
okay.
I honestly, just real quick, I would fix the connection between here and the rec center. It's really a security thing too, because the camera feed does not work very well in dispatch. So it's hard for them to see the cameras. Other than that, the FM 200 I think is huge because you have water sitting above all your electronics.
Gotcha.
The phone system, again, I think.
Well, you wouldn't have put them on there if they were important, so.
Yeah,
it's
and some of it,
probably-
yeah, you could do different years for sure.
There's a sprinkler head in there.
Yes, with water in it.
Yes, you.
Yeah, well, that would not be a
I'll
good-
tell you what we would probably have to do is just put a valve behind that with an air valve behind it so that.
You're saying all of that wouldn't have to be redone?
Yeah, I think we could get away with putting an air valve in there.
But then you wouldn't have the fire protection.
Well, no, you would have it, but it would let out air first. Well, it depends on how we have to do it. We need to take a look at that.
Yeah, according to the fire inspector, it needs to be this.
I can't imagine that putting water on our servers is really a great idea.
Okay, anything else? Mr. Bill?
No, I'm done.
Okay.
Okay. Couple things, exactly which Microsoft licensing are we talking about? I mean, what years of this software are we looking to be at?
Well, in terms of Office, right now, most computers have 2007.
Yes.
I'd like to upgrade to 2016 as the most recent version.
All right, so you want to go current? Is that
Yeah.
your
Well, and that's, when you buy this, you go current.
Right.
You don't buy an old version.
Well, I know,
Yeah, 'cause I need to-
obviously you
we're-
do when you buy stuff. I'm not, I just want to know which version.
We're in 2010.
Okay, city website redesign. It seemed like we just did a redesign within the past year and a half. Is that, you're aware of that or not?
I wasn't here, so
Okay, so you
I'm
don't.
not too sure about that.
Okay, and in terms of the connections to the rec center, we do currently have that T1 connection. We're going to drop that out, is that what you're saying?
We have to keep that till we get rid of the phone system.
Right, I understand, but once we get rid of the phone system, you
Oh,
can get
yeah,
rid of it?
absolutely.
How much is that per month? Or
It's $280.
$280.
And then we pay $300 a month for the phone system maintenance.
Okay. And clearly, if we're not backing up things, that's a problem.
I mean, we do back up our servers. I don't want to say that we don't back anything up, but we do not do an offsite backup currently.
Any other questions?
Well, I do have one more because I don't know if you're aware that we had a fairly major attack on our city servers last year, and we were out of commission for, what, 3 weeks, something like that. And because we had, it was a kind of a terrorist attack on our servers. Are you aware that that happened? Okay, all right. Well, we need to be thinking very clearly about what happens. I mean, people are aware of it.
My only question would be.
I did secure all the servers once I started here. They were not secure.
Yeah, I get
That's
that.
fixed.
My other question, you're talking about doing the email archiver. Is that correct, Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
My other question is, do we need the spam filter, because that's a security issue too? I do miss my spam. I told you
I
that,
can change
but
the rules.
my concern is we still have holes.
We do.
That people can come in and do things.
The biggest concern right now is ransomware.
Yes, exactly.
It did, before I started here, it crippled the rec center. Yes, I mean, the spam filter is.
So if, to the point of prioritizing, when we're talking about doing the email archiver, if there was something you had to pull into now, could you take a look at that and let us?
I think-
'cause that one pops out right away, because we've
Yeah.
had phantom users.
What I would like to do is look at upgrading to Gmail, and I would look at the licensing and then the archiver and the spam filter. do a cost
Upgrading
analysis.
to Gmail, not using
Exchange.
Exchange at all.
Yes. You would use a hosted.
Well, that would totally restructure what we're doing, which I'm not against. I think it's
I
probably a
think it's
great
a cost
idea.
savings, yeah.
Okay, let's
I'll
move
look
along.
at the cost for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look at
and
the
take a look
cost.
for 2,000. I agree with the archive, but I think we need to look at how to
I
shut
think
the
the
doors.
ransomware is more dangerous than ransomware.
And we have some residents that to talk to. So give us yes. Thank you. Building department.
What do you want me to do, finance? I just had a couple items
No,
for
you
administration.
did not. Go.
Okay.
Go.
There's a CMI upgrade to, they call it Authority.
Which page are you on?
Just at the same.
Oh, I see, on page 2.
Yes, page 2. Under Authority, or CMI has this program called Authority, and it's a Microsoft-based program versus the old stuff that we were on. It would just be so much more efficient. We would be able to look something up and click on a line item instead of having to, go to multiple steps to find something. We could generate reports better. It's just a wish list. And then maybe a signature machine, so I don't have to sign 100+ checks a week.
Gosh, we are in the,
I think.
We're in the
well,
20th
it's
century.
duplicate. We did have
Can't stamp?
a signature, it's a duplicate check though. So we did have a
Gotcha.
a signature machine at one point. We can't find it. I don't know where it is. We also had a laser printer to print the checks, which could also have the capability of signing them. We
Yeah.
can't find that printer. It's gone. When Scott came in and put everything back to dot matrix, it's gone. Yes, there was a laser printer and a signature.
we went to dot matrix.
He
Well,
got
that's
rid
fine.
of the laser
Okay.
printer and went back to dot matrix.
That would be Greg.
Yes.
My husband. Dot matrix.
So.
Okay.
So you're saying that's the signature machine is 5,000?
Well, I don't know exactly. I was just trying to come up with a quick version. This is what I found quickly, but there's others I'm sure that could be out there. that
If you
might
need
be
a laser
cheaper.
printer, it wouldn't be,
No, the laser printer would be, that's why I didn't put the laser printer on here. I don't know if the laser print, it depends on how we get the POs and the checks created. If we have them pre-printed, or do you have them printed by check? So it would be depend on how we get that created, whether or not then they could do the signature at the same time, if I approve it through the system. So.
so we need
that's-
more information?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Those are my two.
thank you.
Buildings on.
No questions?
Short and sweet.
We do need a copy or two, by the way, so.
I don't.
But that's
It's
a whole other
No,
part.
no, you don't. I got a dot matrix, look at it. Mr. Bayer?
I have nothing, thank you.
No. Introductions.
Oh.
I'm not sure everyone has met the
I don't
new
think
folks.
everybody knows Bob.
Oh, Bob. I thought AJ was still sitting there.
You already introduced AJ, now can you?
This is Bob Rodick, our new building commissioner, and I'm sorry that if you didn't meet him, here he is. He's a Macedonia resident. He lives in the best active adult community in Macedonia, the Villas of Taormina.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, what page?
First page.
First page?
No,
Oh,
he's
first page.
He's sharing with engineering, so I guess
Okay.
we'll just have him do.
Do they play well? Do they play well with each other? Yes.
So far, so good.
You guys get along. Take it away.
From the building standpoint, I have one item, so I prioritize very, very well. I probably have misnamed it on my report as digital recording, retention, and storage. It's actually long-term digital archiving is what it is. And this was initiated before I got here this year in an effort to create space for our IT director. The city went into contract to have some records digitally archived. And I came here towards the very end of that and got to witness how they did that, which I thought was really unique. And they actually gave us an estimate to do further digital archiving. What they do is they create a handover disk, which is probably about that big and about 2 inches high, and that's our disk. That's like our storage. And just to give you a history on building department storage, there's a two-step process. Before this, it would be take the materials out of the file cabinet, you put it into a box. You take the box, you I index it and you put it into the basement, and you would hope that you never have to access it again. But as Councilman Molnar mentioned, with record retention being as happy-go-lucky as it is now, those records need to be a little bit more accessible. And I know from firsthand experience going down into that basement, into that dirty, dank, dusty room, trying to pull something out and having a yellow document that may not even be worth much at that point in time, it's really not worth it. This digital, the archiving system creates this digital piece of information that we're able to access on that disk, which is ours, on the cloud. And the vendor actually keeps it in 4 different locations, so there's redundancy to that. And in this case, the vendor actually provides a maintenance to it, where for about $1,500 a month, they maintain the units, they'll add on to them. Every 4 years, they'll refresh those documents. So they stay current with the current Windows installations and the certain applications that would go along with that. So you can see in my 2017, I had the second half of the records that were initially moved in earlier this year. There were 2 sets of records. Actually, it's 3 sets of records. And the way the state law requires us to keep the records is 1 set of records we keep in perpetuity. Those are records that relate to property. So those are zoning issues. Those are planning issues. So they relate to the property, and they're there forever. The second set are records that deal with structures, and those have to remain there for the life of the building. So those are actually permits and certificates of occupancy. The third set are short-term type of records, contractor registrations, or things that deal with people, because people become transient. They're no longer there. They're the shortest things that actually exist. So those records are kept for the shortest period of time. And then we also have our own local records, things that we keep to protect ourselves. Certain correspondence, things that we deal with homeowners associations. So those are things that we want to keep. But in maintaining records, the records that were initially archived were records that related to structures and property. And we still have a host of those left. About 1/2 of them are left. And in my plan for 2017, we would get the remainder of those archived and get those off-site in a safe place or in the cloud and get another disk, so we would have that available to us. The records by the company are organized and they're scanned. We get a look at them before they, before we buy them, and they come out in a format where it's just kind of drop down. It's a file, a folder to a file to a file to a file. It's actually relatively simple to use, and we can make that available on the cloud to whomever we would want. Any one of us want to see the records, we would have the information to go ahead and provide that to you. Then the following year, in 2018, we have a group of commercial construction records which I'd like to get archived. The following year, we would do some residential, and that's why there would be such a decrease. It would go from 20-some thousand to 10,000 to 5. Probably end up skipping a year with anything. And then what I'm thinking is the following year, because this is actually a moving target, this 5-year program, see exactly what we would have, and then have a system of archiving records routinely so that we would minimize the amount of paper that we would have in our office, but putting it in a permanent type of format that we would always be able to access.
Digital format.
So that's my plan.
And I'm sticking to it.
Any questions? We all know the cloud is where it's all going.
Well,
If you don't now, that's,
this, we
storage
did it.
doesn't stand second.
We all hope to go to the cloud one day.
We went for a scanner previously. Is this in addition to, or as a connection to, or?
This actually, some of our records are going to be scanned by our own people.
Okay.
But here's what I would tell you. The building department very near here purchased a scanner sometime in the late 90s with the intent of scanning all of their records in.
Mm-hmm.
But that meant that he had to take an office staff and put them in front of that scanner. Well, with the activity that occurs, it doesn't become a reliable way of going about it.
Okay.
It's good to have a professional come in, go ahead, follow the records that we've organized and go ahead and scan them. And they would actually take these types of records off-site, scan them
Okay,
at their
that's
site.
what I was want to clarify. Okay.
Companies do like Iron Mountain, is that a company that does this type of work?
No, yeah, they would do that type of work. We actually used SB Blueprint in the past, and I actually met with them prior to this meeting, just to gather more information.
But
That's where you came up with the 23
Iron
grand.
Mountain is a, yeah.
Look, I was just kinda
It's
getting an
along
idea
the
of
theory
what
of
was
Iron
there.
Mountain,
Yeah.
that's what they do.
In
And
essence,
they're in the caves and.
would we bid this then to several vendors to see?
I think that we would have to, yes.
Yeah, okay, good.
Anything else?
That is all.
So we're not really being,
I'll make a point that when I was president of HOA in Lake Forest State, I put everything on the cloud. And you know, anytime I wrote a document, and I tell you what, I've been removed from that for 6 months, and I got a letter in the mail, and it was my letter. So someone else is accessing and using it, and that's how it's supposed to work. It's easy to get, it's up there for everyone to see. So,
you gotta get in the 21st century. Thank you. Thanks for, you're always welcome to stay, but he's got the biggest bulk here. You wanna stay and keep him honest.
Have a good evening, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Nice to meet you.
see what it's on there, huh?
Okay, we've met you several times, so you don't need any introduction, sorry. Tell us which page and where you want to
First
start.
page.
Huh?
First section.
You're on every page, aren't you?
Don't hold me to anything, but that's kind of where I wanted to
Okay.
go.
We put a number out there. I mean, you've seen the numbers that we provided for the roads that are in very poor condition. Over the next 5 years, we're looking at a 13 million plus, and if you throw on any kind of modest inflation numbers for materials, it's closer to a $15 million number. So we just broke it up over 5 years, 2.8, 2.9, 3, 3.1, 3.2. It comes out to $15 million over the next.
That's based
5
on all the
years.
documentation we have in hand.
Right.
All the cores that were done.
Right.
Okay.
And that was a November 15 report, I think, that you had. And that's, that's a moving target. It's based on, weather and road conditions and how tough the winters have been. We kind of got lucky last year with a fairly mild winter, but the past 10 years we've seen some really bad ones. So you never know what you're going to get on that. So that's a little bit of a moving target, but it's a good budgeting number to try to catch up and be in a better position with the condition of the roads. Just another, on that annual road program, we are always trying to use funding as leverage to get other funding. So if we can see an opportunity to work with Cleveland Water, which we've mentioned before, they potentially could be doing road or water main replacement if we get onto the Cleveland Water Main Renewal Program, where they'll do the road, or they'll do the replacement of the water main, pay for half of the roadway reconstruction, and also pay for all your design costs, which means engineering and also construction supervision of basically the whole job, even though the road portion of it is, it's a little bit lopsided. They actually pay for most of the design when they really shouldn't pay for all the design. That's just how the program is set up. So we try to leverage those dollars so it's not all coming out of our pocket. And if there are OPWC opportunities for any of these jobs, we want to make sure that we're leveraging money that we're willing to spend with whatever money that we can get from an outside funding source. But these numbers here are all basically gross numbers for the most part. So I'll just kind of march down the list for 2017. I got the Sioux Lane culvert. We're looking at various alternatives to try to reduce that cost. Also talking to Regional Sewer District about hopefully having them pick up the entire cost, or possibly trying to redesign it to make it a more simplified design and reduce the cost. So that's something that we've talked a lot about before. We put a line item for retention areas. We split it up. We have about $1 million budgeted. We put $500,000 for 2017 and $500,000 for 2018. I think Rhonda and I kind of went back and forth with Joe also. We have a ledge road stormwater retention. There's a $700,000 number. That's actually, I think, included in those top two numbers. So you can
Which
that's
ones?
if you drop down to that ledge road
Right.
stormwater retention, cross that one out because it's, I think, baked
For
in.
700,000?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So the retention areas of the 5 and 5, we removed the ledge road stormwater retention.
Right.
But that's one of the areas
Yeah.
that's considered.
Right, yes,
Okay.
it is. It's
since we haven't settled on the exact location, you don't necessarily want to put a line item for something. That may be the spot where it goes, but it may be other areas or a combination of different spots. We have the budget line for the early, lead day for the $390,000. The Memorial Park, I think we talked a little bit about that earlier. That got kind of thrown into the engineering end, but that's just what that cost is going to be for that park.
Yeah, we're not quite positive on that, but, based on what fundraisings the VA or the veterans are doing, rather, it's likely that they're going to pay for quite a bit, but we had to throw in a number, plus some grant monies that we're putting in there from their pay.
And it's really the same for the police and fire memorial, $50,000.
So, the police and fire memorial being where?
That's at 82 in Park.
That one, okay.
We do have some money for that one.
There's $26,000, I believe, is that the grant?
27 was the
27,
grant, I
yeah.
think, right. The land acquisition at Park Road, that's a big one.
Well, what that is that's well, we threw that in there, and I'll just mention that, is that as a part of the town center or the redevelopment committee and all that, and that's obviously future, but back in the day when the town center committee made its recommendation, we started to buy up properties as they came available on Park Avenue, and 82. We should continue to focus our efforts there, so that needs to be a part of our 5-year plan, so that we can do a redevelopment of that whole quadrant there. And you get a developer to come in, and we start doing acquisition, and the city takes part of it, and we maybe create a TIF over it, or whatever we do. We could redevelop that whole quadrant there. And I give credit to the committee, because they've been working very hard with making recommendations, and they aren't done yet. I mean, they're still working on it, but I wanted to throw it in there and get it in our 5-year plan.
Could we have a separate meeting and talk purely to that? We're going to have a separate one for the park levy. Could we have a separate meeting with that committee just to hear their plans and what you come up with? And you could
It's
leave
funny,
that one too.
I just started writing it, and we're gonna kind of review it in June.
Perfect.
So maybe sometime or later this year, for sure, I think the report should be finished sooner than later, and then we could probably have one just with a lot of the recommendations that we're making. But, for sure, because I think one of it is
Thank you. That
having a
always
city
is all
center
the
committee.
Things in the back of our head already.
So you're proposing that we put money in 2017 on this?
I think we're going to recommend that you acquire the land if it comes available. So you should have a fund for it.
Well, that's $1 million is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, maybe if they all came available, that's probably what they were.
All right,
What I'm
so
saying
we'll have
is
a
this is a
separate meeting to
5-year
talk
thing.
about that.
Yeah, the reason it's $1 million, what I did, basically, putting my real estate hat on, is I looked at the property values along Park Avenue and a couple here on 82, and thought, okay, if I can buy this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, I could be somewhere in the 700s. So I could pick up the other two, would probably be somewhere in about $1 million range.
Okay.
Obviously, when they come available, if you buy them at the right time, you might buy them cheaper than what.
Well, and does that go then with the next one? Is that also part of the plan? Okay, so we'll have a separate meeting. We'll talk about the land
Right.
acquisition for
Right.
Park and for 82. We did buy the one house. Eons ago. And so, and then the other thing for 2017. Yeah.
Okay, we'll drop down to the issue 2 Ledge Road, which passed legislation for the 405,000.
That's not retention, that's the actual road work.
Right, okay. Yeah, it's the ledge road. Storm retention, I did cross out because I think we captured it. Bedford anodizing was also another property issue which we discussed a little bit about so far. That's, I guess, a reasonable number to placeholder for right now, depending on how the phase 2 turns out.
There's some monies available. I know that the rails, there's a rail fund that's available for sites such as this, where they'll give you the money, but you gotta hold the property out for 10 years for a rail siding user. So, meaning that you can't then just give it to anybody to turn the property over, they have to be a rail siding user. But there are funds available then to do all the reclamation of the site, take down the building, what have you. So, anyhow, I'm not sure that that number is a good number or a bad number, but it's a number to start with.
That's in 2017.
Well, it's probably likely, by the time US EPA gets through, I think it should probably go into 2018.
Hey, would you like to tell us about the other years?
Sure, well,
We already know about
we
the
already have
roads.
the roads issue, and I think the retention area is still covered. We've budgeted a number just on a preliminary estimate for that roundabout on Highland for the $638,000. I think everybody should have that.
That would be
Highland and Valley View.
Right.
That would be such a beautification over on that side of town.
That takes into consideration, it's
And cheaper.
80% semi-traffic in the morning. Just have to bring that up.
Well,
Big trucks go through there.
Right, and I think the thought, again, for that being in 2018 is you really want to have an issue, one application in 2017. So really to do it timing-wise, you need to have plans by June of 17 so that you could apply for the funding.
Right.
And that would be available in 18. So maybe they participate in a portion of that cost. I've actually got, this was my fault, but we've got two numbers that are flipped. I have a 125 for the South Bedford turn lane, that should be 150. And 150, it got flipped with another item which I'll get to.
I just want to make sure she heard that in 2018 for the turning lane in South Bedford, but it did, okay. Doesn't, and then a turning lane at Shepherd is 2021. Okay. I know her interest there.
Yeah, well, you have to come up with the first 25 that are covered, so.
We have the Broadway and Shepherd project, which we've talked to Oakwood, Glen Willow, and Twinsburg about. I think Twinsburg is going to take the lead on that. That cost is roughly $375. It might be a little bit less than that, but I wanted to at least have the right number budgeted
Back again.
for that project. And we'll have to, I know that Twinsburg wants to move forward with it, and the other communities are very interested, so it's important to put it on the list for.
Decide to put in the
Yeah,
extra money.
well, if they do, they need to come up with money.
Right. Going to 19, same issue for the top one. I've got a $769,000 budget number for a curb cut at Route 8 crossing. That's another one where we'd like to go after funding source, but.
Well, actually, they were supposed to get the money from the businesses over there, and they didn't want to give it before. And so we wouldn't come up with that money, right?
Actually, Chick-fil-A came in and made the presentation where they were
They
going to
did.
go forward, and we turned them away.
Well, there was a talk and discussion about us talking to all the property owners over there and doing an
Right.
assessment. So that is still an ongoing discussion.
Right. And he was here at the table.
Yeah. And
Saying that's the way
I've
they
met with
wanted to
them,
go.
And what's the story?
Okay.
we're-
And then 20?
He's kind of been carrying the ball on that. Stankowitz is his name?
And Stanko, yeah.
Stanko, yeah.
Right.
So he's kind of been running around trying to organize that a little bit, and it's very difficult to get anyone from corporate in Target and Lowe's to be responding. But the
Yes.
ones that really are going to benefit, if you will probably be the two empty parcels that are sitting there
Right.
that haven't been able to be leased out or sold out, rather. Great Escape would benefit greatly, and anybody that's in Macedonia, Panera's,
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, all of them, Chipotle.
Well, Chick-fil-A would benefit for sure, and Panera, but, you know, that's
That whole
800,
half
almost
of the
$800,000. And then taxpayers know maybe some businesses are interested, like you were trying to get them to, Stanko's been trying to get
That's
them.
2019, 2020.
Well, whatever it is, that's too much money.
Yeah, it's feature.
Well, it's also a, you know, the fact that people are driving down, let's say they're coming Route 8 from the north and they get past 82, and they say, oh my God, look at, there's someplace I wanted to eat,
Chick-fil-A is a perfect example,
they
right?
can make the turn in and
Can't
go
get
right in.
Well,
or
oh,
right
yeah,
out. And
it's
so-
beneficial to.
Actually, the big
Well, it's
selling
beneficial
point more
because it's
so
a tax
was
revenue
safety.
Well, but, you know, how many chicken
big
sandwiches are
selling
gonna take to
point-
get
I'm not just
$7.69?
talking about Chick-fil-A, I'm
But
talking
Mayor,
about,
the big selling point was safety, more so. There is no other,
yeah.
Right.
Well, you know, let me just
Okay.
tell you this story, because the story is important.
He's asking.
I wanted that in back when we put the subdivision in. When that came before us to put in the crossings, I had it approved by ODOT.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden, somebody waved a magic wand over it and killed the deal for us.
With ODOT, you mean?
With ODOT, and the developer, I think, was probably happy. And then there were certain elected officials at a higher level in our state that then received some pretty good money after that from the developer. So
Okay.
I'm just gonna tell you, that's the way the story came down.
Well, yeah,
And that's the way it happened.
That's, a lot of
Okay.
times those things happen, let's go.
Yeah.
moving right along to, in the year
20.
25,000.
We'll just go 2020.
What's the 2020 we have that?
That's where he's going.
Town center, okay.
Right? That's
The
where he's
town
going.
center was a project that's really the big roundabout at 82. That's, and actually, that's a typo. That should have another zero on it.
Oh,
So that is a.
3 million?
3
That
million.
is a huge project.
Yikes.
And where's it at?
3 million?
Where would, Route 82 in,
Valley View Road in South Bedford.
Route 82 in Valley View, is that, oh, this whole structure?
Yeah, right up there, yeah.
Right.
Okay, well,
Big.
all right.
Again, it's a big number.
3 million?
It's a fairly large number because you got utility relocation, right away
Sure, right.
acquisition.
so it's a town center roundabout.
It'd be a town center roundabout.
Okay.
It'd be a-
On 82 at Valley View?
Apparently, all the way back to South Bedford.
Can you add
encompassing.
the word roundabout to that? That tells everybody what it is. I've been through some of those giant ones.
Well,
The traffic does flow.
yeah, they work
Well-
quite well, but it would be a major change, obviously. And it takes a lot of
Obviously,
cost.
Okay, and then 2021,
Yes.
That one is, that we have listed as 150, but it should be 125.
That's the 120, oh, so that was the
Those were just-
reverse.
Yeah, that was just a little
This
swap.
would be 82.
okay.
Cheap at the price. all right.
So there you have it, a lot of big numbers now.
This would
I'll
be,
pretend I
All
know.
right, are you
this
all
would
the
be
city
the
hall
Dunkin'
stuff?
Donuts, and this would be 82.
No,
That's what it
Anything
would look like,
else?
so.
Excuse me?
I think that's it.
Hold
All
on.
right.
That would be
We
82.
believe- You need a CAD system
Valley
there, Kevin.
View, Dunkin' Donuts in South Bedford, that's what it is.
North Bedford. North Bedford.
North Bedford, sorry.
There's a big difference.
Well, there would be, yes.
Anything
If
else?
it's going all the
sir?
way to South Bedford, we're really in trouble.
Anything else, sir? I don't think we have a lot of questions from Rose because we have talked about that.
Right.
So, and thank you for giving us such good explanations of them all. Again, you will do the prioritization with the mayor. I know they can't, I know you want them all to be number one. They cannot be, so please.
That's,
Okay, and then last but not least,
We have any
Mayor,
questions? I have a question.
quick.
I'll be quick.
He went through these in pretty good detail.
I know, but it's just the annual roads program, and we asked it, do you agree or disagree with the analysis of GPD in their roads assessment? Because that's where
Yeah.
we're basing all these numbers
right,
off of.
I think that their assessment is essentially accurate.
Okay,
You're analyzing so many, is there a road here or there
Gotcha,
that I might
but
flip a coin on, but in
You're
general,
comfortable with what the report says, okay,
the
perfect.
dollar amounts. of
Because
the
we already
commission,
paid for that
yes,
report.
are
Perfect.
really pretty much on track.
Okay.
What about Ledge Road stormwater update? Do you guys have something, a new proposed plan yet for what could be done there?
We are, the drainage study,
Yeah.
yes, we're right, the mayor and I are in discussion with, there's a number of properties that we need to talk to about the possibility of creating additional
Upstream.
retention upstream. So as you chase some of those streams upstream near further up north, there are some opportunities potentially, but we would need to get into these properties and then make a better evaluation.
And
That's
then-
really how you change the dynamics of the whole forward.
Because all the water's,
Is that the five?
So is that, you weren't asking about the
That's
issue too,
That's the
right?
500 and 500.
Yeah.
could I ask,
Okay, but the
Retention
405 is the project that we're
That's,
going.
that's just the pavement.
That's the one that
That's-
we just were going out for a grant
Right.
for with Northfield Village?
Correct.
And when do you anticipate having some type of thought or
That would be
idea
Ms.
or
Loya's concern.
Yes.
something for that?
well, do we have something we can
I
have a
think
proposal?
here's the, without going into too much detail, you have to talk to property. So whenever you go down that route, that is just off the table. You cannot have a discussion in a public meeting about, well, we're going after this guy's property, how much do you think we should pay for it?
I got you.
We're just not gonna have that conversation. But the important thing is that we have that conversation, and I think the mayor knows most of the people involved. We're gonna initiate that conversation through the mayor. As soon as we have that, then we can say, yes, this is an option, or no, this isn't, based on those preliminary discussions. Once we have that, then we can give you better numbers. We've looked at how, we've modeled some things preliminarily based on making some assumptions on some of these properties, and I think that the results are substantially better than what was proposed.
So I think the bottom line is the $500,000 in 2017 is the projection based on the conversations that are going to be held with the mayor and the property owners and the solutions from upstream to through the stream. And then the second phase, or to finish, is another $500,000. So we're talking $1 million.
So my only question is, do you have a ballpark idea when we're gonna be able to see a proposal?
I think it's all going to, you know.
This fall?
Well, hopefully we'll be able to start opening conversations with them. Hopefully they'll be amenable to some of the things that we're going to say and do, and in some cases, it's going to improve their properties as well. And so I can't give you an answer to that
Okay, there's no
exactly.
answer at this time.
But with the intelligent, if knowing that we want to go on with the $500,000 in 2017, that we would have something at the table before October, some feel for it, October, November, so that when we do the budget for next year, we've got to have it included.
Yeah, well, I
Or
think once
else
we get to the bigger
it
properties.
goes another year.
Yeah, where we get to the bigger properties where the retentions may go
Okay.
in.
But I think what we're saying is, can you set a timetable that you would try to have come back to this table in October? Here's the solution, and here's what we need for 2017.
We can-
Put that on your calendar.
We can
That's
shoot for
right,
that.
that's what we want. You got it summarized.
All right, anything else? If not,
I have one more question about the county contracts for striping and paving that are available. Are we ever considering using them as part of this program of road repair?
I think you look at all the options, but again, until you're at a point where you're spending money,
Well,
there's
what
really
I'm,
no point in having a discussion with.
well, I get that, but I'm saying that, you know, from my understanding, they have substantial savings available through their contractors. If that's true,
Right.
we would consider them,
Yeah,
right?
I think you look at it, I think one of the problems that you run into is if you lose control of the project,
Mhm.
you know, if you find
Draft
that,
one, but draft
there's
one.
Well-
issues where they're just blowing by, you know, we need a track record a little bit to see how they're doing.
Well, I
it.
agree.
And if they're not providing the type of,
Well, we need to know what
hands-on-
they're doing. Yes,
Right.
I agree.
You know, because sometimes they could just leave the residents in the dust, they knock down 20 mailboxes and off
Well,
they go.
yeah,
We-
well,
we don't want
we've already
that.
had that experience, so we don't need to
Okay.
go outside of the city for that.
But it's worth.
Mr.
it's worth
Engel, you've
your-
been quiet. Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Everyone else had an opportunity. I want to make sure you get through safe.
I just wanna-
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, before we adjourn, there's one little section on here which is City Hall. We have talked a lot about some of those already before.
Yes.
You know, about the roof,
Right.
the resurfacing the parking lot, the LED, and then we've talked about basically all of these at one point in time. I think the other thing I see.
The only one I would have
here
said is that the street lighting should have probably gone off to police because that's where we put the funds, but otherwise, I put it under City Hall, but,
You're talking about that 192?
yeah, yeah.
Where should they go?
Well, we pay the annual fee for electricity for all
Right.
streetlights out of
Right.
the police fund.
I see.
And what this is about is an upgrade of going from the high-pressure sodium type of
Yes.
light to an LED light.
Right.
And it's so much better to do because you don't have ballasts to deal with. I've been in discussions with Ohio Edison about what they have been charging us,
Which is a lot.
which is over the top. And so we're trying to curtail that and do it in-house and start to move towards LED lighting in all of our subdivisions so that when we're going out there, we're eliminating the ballasts. The only two working components that will be on every then light will be the LED bulb itself and the photo cell.
I see.
So every time Ohio Edison has gone out with they do is instead of replacing the bad photo cell or the bad
They replace the whole
bulb,
thing, yeah.
they pull the whole head and charge us $1,200.
Is this eligible?
Now, we're talking about components, by the way, that are maybe 120 bucks, yeah, or so.
Is this eligible for,
Or 150 for everything.
For LED.
Oh, for the LED.
For LED, bulb, and photo cell, about $100.
is this eligible for no pep grant?
Well, I don't think there's any dollars available for that right now.
If we did this over a period of years, we didn't have to do it all at once.
All right.
Because they're not all of them broken. But if we had a game plan, neighborhood by neighborhood or something.
Well, here's how I see it. Last year, they billed us $44,000.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Total.
And you said you wanted to put this under the police department?
Well, it's a capital improvement, but it should flow with the same dollars that we pay out for, it's a capital improvement item kind of thing. But the generation or the cost for the energy itself, we pay on the tariff fee through the police department funds. That's that couple $100,000 that we pay.
So move this to,
Well, I guess we could leave it there.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, though, that it probably should be better reflected as a part of that.
it's probably still under the general fund.
So,
Thank you, department heads. Thank you, council. Let's talk for another 20 minutes so I can watch the guys at the end. What time's that game start? It's a big playoff game. Again, we'll get a prioritization from each department head. Any other additional details? If you have questions that weren't answered, send them to me. Kevin will let us know when we're going to have the Parks and Rec one. Kevin and the mayor will let us know when we're going to have the future growth meeting. But we need to really think about this because the budget will be started before we know it. Thank you. And I hope your point will come up. It's been very nice to
All right. Working on the farm.
Rhonda, I have a question about
I'll be,
tracking on the Vita distribution, and at this point, I'm showing cash for May.
Let me see what I can do.
Your first meeting.